This episode is not suitable for anybody under the age of 18. Please proceed with caution. I'm Cheryl.
And I'm Nikki Druce,
And this is Killers, Cults and Queens.
the podcast where we journey to the spookiest, scariest, and downright weirdest corners of the world.
Today, we're exploring a cult which promised utopia but delivered a nightmare. It's Rajneesh Puram. He struggled with facing authority and questioned everyone about everything. Gobby then. One door closed and several more heavily lubricated ones opened because he began touting himself as the sex guru.
Oh, fancy boy.
Are you ready?
I don't know if I am. I don't know if I want a nightmare. I've had enough of those on my own.
Well, tough. You're stuck in another. Let's go.
Okay.
Imagine you're living in a little town, minding your own business, when out of nowhere, a new religious movement decides to move in. They seem harmless at first, but before long, things take a turn for the weird. They isolate themselves, but people know strange things are happening behind closed doors. And before long, the tensions that have been building inside their ranch would come spilling out onto the quiet streets. And once the many cans of worms have been opened, it seems there was no chance of getting them back inside. Welcome to Killers, Cults and Queens. But first things first, how are you, Nikki Druce?
I'm doing well. I'm ready to go to work on the ranch, which is what you told me we were doing.
On the road again. I can't wait to get on the road again. You look
Lady.
resplendent.
Thank you.
I love this shirt.
Do you want to know a story about this shirt?
Please.
It is from a little shop in Burbank where they recycle shirts that are used on TV sets and film sets.
Stop it.
So this is from The Bold and the Beautiful. Not The Bald and the Beautiful.
No, not the podcast, the TV show.
It's from The Bold and the Beautiful. So this was not used on screen because it still had its tags attached, but it's where it's from.
Well, I'm not going to lie. I've been on sets where the tags have still been attached, so it could have been,
It could have been.
but it is fabulous. I'm actually quite jealous.
It is an actual proper Western wear. Got the proper label in the back and everything. So I was so overjoyed when I found this, and it actually fit me because you never know with those shops if it's just going to be all tiny sizes.
Yeah.
But I was so pleasantly surprised that there were all shapes and sizes and ranges and all sorts of stuff, even like fancy dress costumes and things as well. Somebody said to me as well, they were like, oh no, actually they just buy things in and it's not actually TV and film used. I was like, well, don't shatter my dream. I don't care. My shirt was used on The Bold and the Beautiful.
Well, if it is just to lure people in, then you got yourself a customer.
Exactly. It worked on me. It worked on me. But how are you doing, Shez?
I am fabulous. Do you know what? I am enjoying all the cases we've covered so far, but I did feel like we were missing more cult stories.
Yeah, we haven't done a good juicy cult this season, have we?
Well, today we are pleased to bring this season of Killers, Cults and Queens to you with our divas at Snag Tights. Now, if you want a pair of tights that is going to last you a lifetime, then make sure you head to snagtights.com to check out their fabulous range of tights, plus so many more amazing products.
You getting that in the viewfinder? Woo! Woo!
Well, obviously, we are diving headfirst into a cult today because it's been a while, hasn't it?
Mhm.
And do you know much about Rajneesh Puram?
Well, I've heard a little bit about Rajneesh. I know that they're the people that wear red, so we are in red for that reason.
Well, it's not just strictly red. We'll
Okay.
get to that in a bit.
All right. Well, I know a little bit about this. I know that it's an Indian spiritual cult. Is that right?
Yes, it's all derived from the land of India, Hinduism and all the spirituality, but it is bled across the world.
I'm interested to hear where we go for this because you mentioned about them being in a little tiny American town, and that's not where I thought we were going today. I thought we were possibly heading to India.
Well, all will make sense why we end up in a little small American town.
Okay.
But it's time for you to don your red robes and maybe stay away from the salad bar because we're off to explore the weird world of Rajneesh Puram and strap in because it's going to be bumpy as hell down that dirt track.
I love me a salad bar. You can't keep me away from that.
You might want to.
Okay.
But here is your disclaimer. This story has mentions of coercive control, mental, physical, and sexual abuse of adults and minors as well. So if that's not something for yourself right now, then please check out a spooky sleepover or just one of our lighter episodes. But if you're ready, let's set the scene.
Okay.
It's 1981 in the little town of Antelope in Oregon, USA. The small town only has a few residents, less than 100 people, and life is peaceful here. Nothing really happens. But one day, the peace is shattered. The birdsong is drowned out by the hum of an engine. A large and impressive Rolls-Royce drives into view along the dusty road. Inside the car sits the new owner of the ranch inside the town of Antelope. But this is no ordinary property. Firstly, it is massive, over 100 miles in size. It was once called Muddy Ranch, but the new owners are going to rename it. The new compound will be called Rajneesh Puram after the leader of the new religious movement. Currently, the ranch is empty, but over the next few years, followers will come in their thousands and outnumber the original residents in the town, becoming their own ungovernable group. They'll build a fire station, a post office, a police station, and even an airport, making this a fully fledged city of its own. But what goes on inside the confines of this ranch is worrying. It's all very hush-hush, and so when the authorities go to take a look, the owners become tetchy and worried and begin showing they're mad, bad, and dangerous to know, and definitely should not be messed with. When a local election threatens to cause problems for the group, a mysterious sickness would tear through the original residents of the town and leave many people in hospital. But did Rajneesh Puram have anything to do with this illness? Or was this all just a coinky-dink? Let's find out.
We've got a lot going on already, haven't we?
I know. A small metropolis appearing in small little Antelope.
Yeah, so we've got a town of 100 people being overrun by this 100-mile size ranch, which is ridiculous. How are you going to get around on that unless you've got a Segway?
It's very much like a complex. You need your little golf buggy just to get around, or even a car.
Yeah.
100 miles?
Yeah.
That's further from me in Essex into London.
Yeah, you ain't doing that in a golf buggy because in a previous life, in a previous job, I used to have to drive a golf buggy around and I flipping loved it. But they don't go very far without running out of battery.
No. I think you'd make about 3 miles and that would be it.
Yeah. And they're not always necessarily the most roadworthy of things. And I'm guessing this place is pretty wild.
Well, we'll get into the details, but I would not be driving a golf buggy up that hill. I'd actually rather be running up that hill.
And you're dressed for it today as well.
Am I?
Yeah, you're very Kate Bush in that outfit.
Oh, I thought you meant for running.
Oh, yeah, no, definitely in those heels, for sure. Pleasers, comfy.
Exactly. So to begin today's story, let's rewind back to Kuchwada in India in the 1930s. Kuchwada was a tiny village mainly used for farming, and things were very rural and isolated. Even though it lacked many mod cons, it was a good place to bring up children because it was small, quiet, and very safe. But along came a bouncing baby boy who would go on to change all of that peace and quiet. Born to mother Suraswati and father Babalal Jain, their son Chandra Mohan Jain was born in 1931. His father was a cloth trader and they lived a very modest life. He was brought up mainly by his grandparents and they did very little to keep Chandra in line. His grandparents loved him and let him be as carefree as he liked, and they found him to be quite entertaining. They did little to rein him in and would tell him how special he was, even giving him the nickname, the Lord of the Moon, which is actually quite cute because Chandra translates to moon or shining. It seems in their eyes, their perfect little grandson could do no wrong, and it seemed that Chandra would take on the name Rajneesh at an early age, a name he would be known by for the majority of his life. Now, Rajneesh wasn't your usual tearaway kid. He loved reading, engaging in complex discussions about politics with his grandparents from a very young age. We're talking at the age of 8. Could you imagine an 8-year-old being like, can't believe what Keir Starmer's doing?
Yeah, I would have some thoughts about that. I'd be like, yeah, sure, kid. I'm sure you think that. You haven't lived a life yet. You've got no idea.
Well, it's like these politicians at 18 years old.
Yeah, well, I think sometimes it depends on what kind of background you've had. If you have lived many, many lives when you're younger, I think you can have some valuable insights into things. But yeah, when you're 8, there's very little life that has been lived there. So I don't think you really got opinions. I think you're just pigeoning whatever you've... Is that what you call it? Parroting, not pigeoning.
Potato.
Yeah, you're just pigeoning back what you've heard.
But just as Rajneesh was flourishing, tragedy struck.
Oh.
His grandfather, who he loved so dearly, passed away from a stroke. We don't know if Rajneesh saw his grandfather's death, but as a Hindu family, the body would be prepared at home for cremation. So it's very likely that Rajneesh was part of this process, and it had a profound effect on him and his belief. After his grandfather's death, Rajneesh became interested in religion and spirituality and began questioning the practices he'd been brought up with. As his upbringing had been quite carefree with very little discipline, he struggled with facing authority and questioned everyone about everything. Gobby then.
Yeah, I can just imagine this child and him just being quite annoying and me just being like, can you go away, please? Go away. Go away. Just pushing away with my foot.
With the air.
Yeah.
When he was a teenager, he got his first girlfriend, and they were very happy together. But then again, tragedy struck, and she died at a very young age from typhoid fever. This left a deep scar on Rajneesh, and he once again questioned why the god he believed in could be so cruel. So he went looking around to see if there was any other alternatives. At university, he chose to study philosophy, and then he went on to teach it himself to other students. However, his teachings were quite different from what they were being told to teach, and so he quickly got in trouble for questioning the traditional ways and highlighting that people didn't have to just stick to the rules of life that they had been taught beforehand. These new ideas managed to fly under the radar for a while, so much so that Rajneesh booked himself a public speaking tour where he went off around India using his professor status to draw in crowds. His talks were originally all about meditation, but things got a little racy. He floated the idea that people should be sexually free and just do whatever and whoever they liked. Raj was using his employer as a way to fund his tour and his ties to the university to make him seem legit and to get bums on them seats. So when he went back to his day job, he was shoved into the boss's office and told to pack up his desks and sever all his ties to them immediately. But do you think that stopped him? No! Of course it didn't. Raj used his firing as an opportunity. To him, one door closed and several more heavily lubricated ones opened because he began touting himself as the sex guru.
Oh, fancy boy.
Well, he didn't quite give himself that nickname because that's quite disgusting to call yourself the sex guru.
Well, yeah, you got to be pretty self-confident, haven't you, to be like, I'm the sex guru.
And obviously, what's wrong with being confident? But in this situation, don't call yourself the sex guru.
No, I don't think it's a title that you should give yourself.
Well, a journalist who attended one of his many talks gave him this nickname in the press. So he's obviously picking up a lot of traction by now. Not long after, Rajneesh changed his name again to Bhagwan Shree Rajneesh. Bhagwan means Lord or revered one, so he's given himself a little title to make himself seem legit, you know? He was jumping on the spiritual money train. Choo-choo, cha-ching, cha-ching.
So he's doing all right for himself now, isn't he? Because he's basically used the university to springboard himself to this position. So he's used their money to do this talk, to get those ideas and those thoughts out there. And then he's like, oh, no, actually, now I'll do the second wave of this and start growing whatever this is that I'm building. And just like, yeah, it feels a bit like he's used his resources to his advantage there. So he's definitely smart. He knows what he's doing.
He is incredibly smart, but all will be revealed how smart he actually ends up being in this next part.
Okay.
Bhagwan Shree Rajneesh has been touring all around India sharing his knowledge as the sex guru. But life on the road is getting to be a little too much, and Raj wants to lay his roots down in order for his unique brand of spiritualism to have a chance at growing. Raj sets himself up in a building and turns it into an ashram. Now, an ashram is a bit like a monastery or a nunnery, but it's based on the Hindu religion. It's a place where people can come stay with like-minded people who are actively working on strengthening their spiritual practice. Rajneesh found his first ashram was a great success, and soon the amount of people wanting to stay was outgrowing the space and the resources they had. So Raj got his followers to chip in, and they found somewhere bigger to go.
He's doing pretty good for himself, isn't he? I'm amazed by this because I think people really latch on to things like this. And I don't know if it's because they want to be part of a community or find people that are like-minded, or they want to test their boundaries and do things that are slightly different, and somebody's given them the go-ahead to do that. People flock to these things and they're seeking something. But what that thing is, it doesn't come from within me. I just don't feel like I would be wanting to seek that type of community.
Well, you've said it there. The word on my lips is there is community out there for everybody in whatever capacity it is, whether it's even like an online forum where like-minded people come together to share an interest. Maybe it's over Desperate Housewives. That's your community, you know? Religion is one thing, but there is community for everybody.
Yeah, it's true.
Now, during this time, there was a boom in Westerners getting interest in Indian religion and spirituality because a little group known as the Fab Four, who could that be, Nikki Drews?
Oh, the Beatles.
We all live in a yellow submarine, going to India, going to India. Yes, our long-haired lovers from Liverpool. Ow! Ow! The Beatles!
I love the Beatles!
John! Ringo!
Surprise, surprise!
The Beatles were intrigued by Indian spirituality. In the late 1960s, they travelled to India to study under the Maharishi Mahesh Yogi. Quite the mouthful. They also brought him back to London and even took him to Wales, of all places, so he could deliver lectures with the Beatles in tow.
Sorry, Wales, I didn't mean to laugh at you then, but, you know, it kind of seems like a bit of a juxtaposition, doesn't it? Here's this lovely country that you've been in. Here's London, which is, you know, it's all right. And here's Wales.
Luscious green hillsides.
I love you, Wales. It's okay.
On a group retreat at the Maharishi's Gaff in Rishikesh in India, the rose-tinted gold glow began to fade away very quickly. The Beatles and a lot of their friends and girlfriends went on the special retreat, but quickly things fell apart. One of the friends, called Magic Alex, pointed out that the Maharishi may not be all he's cracked up to be. Alex found that the Maharishi was allegedly using quite a lot of drugs. Well, a lot of them were at the time.
Oh, yeah. I would say that's pretty standard.
And he was trying to get the band to give them more money and to raise his profile more and more. The final straw was when Alex reported back that he'd seen the Maharishi making passes at a few of the girls they brought with them. And so he gathered everyone. They hot-footed it out of India and back to the UK. To Liverpool! ASAP.
Got straight back on that plane.
And that little side tangent was to let you know that basically There was a lot of Westerners traveling to India during this time who were just looking to find their own spiritual guru, and our guy, Rajneesh, was willing to do it and be that guy.
Well, I can imagine they just saw all these people coming in and had pound signs in their eyes because they're like, right, okay, I'm just going to tell this person that I've got the new spiritual enlightenment package and they can pay me X amount and off we go.
They've got a bureau de change at their ashram. It's now 1974 and Rajneesh has outgrown his first ashram and is looking for a bigger one that he can call home and move more people in. A few of his higher ranking followers are entrusted with finding a new base, and they located a property in Pune in India. The new base was a commune for spirituality which had Bhagwan Shree Rajneesh as its leader. The numbers of followers kept rising and was a mix of Indians and Westerners, all who joined the group to receive enlightenment, something Rajneesh said he'd experienced decades ago. Oh,
Ticked it off the list.
got it in my back pocket.
Yeah, all good. I've already completed it, mate.
Yeah. The teachings offered by Rajneesh in Pune were very different from the normal spiritual retreats people had been offered at the other ashrams. They soon became legendary and people were flocking to sign up for the Bhagwan's unique teachings. Every day had a packed schedule full of activities. Alongside the standard meditations and lectures came more unconventional tasks. Unlike other communes, Rajneesh encouraged his followers to sing and dance and to play musical instruments. They encouraged followers to ask bold questions, to have philosophical debates, and to be all around curious.
Well, that's quite different to a lot of cults, isn't it? Or a lot of these groups, because we're not calling it cult because they don't say they're a cult. But I feel like a lot of these groups will really cut that curiosity away and they tell you to think exactly the way that they think and they want you to be exactly like they are so they can manipulate you and make you malleable. Whereas, yeah, it's a bit refreshing to hear that they were actually encouraged to be a bit unique and individual. So,
Talk, discuss, and have fun.
yeah.
But the curiosity often overflowed into unpleasant territory. People were offered daily group therapy sessions, but this didn't resemble the therapy we know today. This was something new and different and very experimental. Now, we will preface this by saying that these are all allegations by former members of the Rajneesh group and not written down teachings, but some previous members reported some worrying things. These group therapy sessions were said to work on breaking down people's personal boundaries to make them free. They were often delivered in packed, sweltering hot rooms, and these attendees had to be naked. Now, they lost me straight away at hot and naked.
Well, it sounds like hot yoga. No, thank you.
Hot naked yoga.
Oof.
The participants were asked to act on their instincts and to leave all their inhibitions at the door. Sexual liberation was the main teaching, and people were told to act on their instincts and to receive whatever happened to them within these sessions, whether they were consenting or not.
Oh, no.
If you didn't want to participate, then this just meant you hadn't broken through your boundaries yet, and that you still needed to work on being free.
We've heard this before, haven't we? Where if you didn't do what they asked you to do, you hadn't broken through and, you weren't as spiritually as pure as some of the other members of the group who were able to just let all this stuff kind of slide. But it's just about control, isn't it? They're telling you that you're not spiritually enlightened, but actually it's just because they want you to think that the only way to do that is to do these nasty things. So, yeah, it's all about control. But people don't realise these things.
Mm-hmm. So with these new experimental treatments, people started to feel like they weren't good enough and that they weren't spiritually advanced as they wanted to be. And so this is when the standard behavior we know and despise from cults starts to ring true, like you said. Followers were encouraged to change their names to more spiritual sounding names to make them more connected to the Bhagwan's teaching and to separate themselves from their old identities, stripping them of their identities. Rule number 1.
Yep, that's a Cults 101 trick, isn't it?
They were told to wear red,
Mm.
but also yellow, pink, and orange clothes to mimic the sun.
Okay.
So, in terms of cult uniform, it wasn't strict. They could wear whatever garments they want, just in the colour scheme.
It's probably because they wanted them to pay for them. And so if they're buying their own uniform, then therefore they can just stick to a colour, can't they? But it doesn't have to be the strict thing. It's not like Heaven's Gate where they're going out and buying all the same tracksuit and Nike trainers. So yeah, it probably made it much, much cheaper for them.
In the documentary I watched, it was actually very visually pleasing to see them in their outdoor yogas in all the array of these colours. It just looked like a Zara Larson dream, minus the cult.
Yeah, the ideal of it sounds quite nice, doesn't it? But actually, what's going on behind closed doors is disgusting. Whereas actually, if somebody is offering this to you on paper and you don't really realise what it is, I can see how you could quickly end up falling into something like that and being stuck.
The one we have encountered many times before in cults, they were reportedly encouraged to be non-monogamous, and that if they felt the desire towards another member of the group, they should act on it even if the person wasn't receptive, and that they should work on them as no one should have any sexual hang-ups. Now, the ashram at Pune was so popular that it was outgrowing its space yet again. Pair this with many Westerners on expired visas and issues over tax and land disputes with the Indian government, it was only a matter of time before things were going to turn ugly. Business was booming at Pune Ashram. Rajneesh was selling retreats to the curious, had long-term members who paid him regular rent, and he was also receiving donations from wealthy, interested people who were all too happy to give him a hefty donation as a tax write-off.
It's a good way to do it, isn't it? If you want to get rid of some of that tax money, just do a nice little donation. Off it goes.
And I will be taking donations to the Bank of Cheryl for £200 a month.
You can sponsor a Cheryl. Make sure she gets home safe.
Then on top of that, there were the cottage industries, which made and exported many goods to lovely little shops to sell gorgeous little things, gorgeous, tasteful, stylish little things.
Gorgeous little things, Pat. Gorgeous little things.
Sweetie.
Sweetie.
So it's safe to say that Rajneesh was not short of a pretty penny, and people started to notice that he was doing pretty well for himself, and he was becoming untouchable. Father God. This was until somebody decided to remind his followers that he wasn't God and that he was a mere mortal like all of us.
Oh.
In 1980, at the Rajneesh Ashram in Pune, a man made his way into one of the halls where Bhagwan was delivering his morning lecture. Suddenly, out of nowhere, a knife flew through the air and hit the almighty leader in the chest.
Oh.
The man was swarmed and held hostage until the police arrived and he was arrested. The knife throw was poorly executed, though, and all it did was just bounce off his chest.
Oh, okay.
But this assassination attempt and the growing governmental issues and pressures were stressing him out. He decided to invest in some of his many, many millions into getting the fuck out of Dodge, out of India, and he asked his senior leaders to once more scout a new property for the ashram to relocate to.
So it's kind of like selling Sunset because they're wearing the sun-coloured clothes, aren't they?
Selling ashram sunsets.
Yes, that's what they're doing. So going from place to place and just scouring out all these properties.
Oh, I think that's a good property. Oh, look at 3,000 miles wide. Fabulous.
Yeah, he's got his own estate agents and everything.
I know. Well, he's building quite the community.
He is.
Well, before long, plans were set in place for relocation on an epic scale. This gang's going to the land of money, excess, fame and glamour, because, baby, they're off to the States.
Oh, money, excess, fame and glamour.
Thank you, Randy and Fenton. Bhagwan Shree Rajneesh has been making quite the name for himself in his home country of India, but he's set his eyes on setting up shop somewhere else in order to escape all his problems, as you do. But he won't be going alone. He has the small matter of transporting over 2,000 people with him.
Well, you're not going to fit them on a plane, are you?
Well, that's going to be like 7 Boeing 747s.
Yeah, line them up.
Maybe even more. Now, I'm making this out to be like Rajneesh was helping with everyone he's packing and doing the mum sweep of the house. Have you got your passport, darling? Did you pack your underwear?
Got your toothbrush?
No, he was far too important to be doing all that. Bhagwan was not in charge of logistics. He left that to the head honchos of the ashram. Ma Anand Sheila and John Shelfer, who changed his name to Prem Jayananda. Ma Anand Sheila, whose real name was Sheila Ambalal Patel, was born in Gujarat in India. She was introduced to Rajneesh by her father when she was just a teenager, and from that moment on, she said she had a close emotional bond and fell deeply in love with him. She said their relationship was never a sexual one, but they were spiritually bonded and had an unbreakable bond. Sheila left India to study at a university in the USA, in New Jersey. Obviously, she was just doing beer pong with Snooki and flipping tables with Teresa Judice.
Of course she was.
Prostitution whore! You were engaged 1912!
I can just imagine her in her knee-high Uggs.
Oh, don't even get me started on those Ugg boots.
Where they always wore down on one side and not the other. So we always had one that was a bit scuffy on one side.
I could not. I've got the ick now, and it's all these years later.
And they smelt so bad as well. The amount of Ugg boots that just flipping stunk. It was not the era to be around, I'll tell you that. Everybody I knew didn't have real Uggs anyway. They all had fake ones.
Well, that's why they stunk.
Yeah, and why they all did that whoop on the side. So everybody was walking around with a limp.
Well, Uggs quality, to quote a wise icon, is now much better. But she never forgot about Rajneesh, and once her studies were over, she went back to India and earned her place at her beloved Bhagwan's table, and before long, she'd be his right-hand diva. When the move abroad was floated with Sheila by Rajneesh, she said she would get to work straight away and look for a suitable place. She knew from her time spent in the States that the sheer size of the place would really be in their favour when looking for somewhere to accommodate the thousands of settlers. Now, there was a slight problem with trying to get something on this scale because there'd been a little incident a few years prior before, which might sound a little bit similar. Do you remember what that was?
Does it begin with Jones and end with Town?
Yeah, Mr. Jim Jones. So obviously, Sheila had her wits about her. So in order to try and fly under the radar, Sheila used her American-born husband, John, aka Prem, to buy a property that was fit for the lordship. Sheila and John bought a little place known as Muddy Ranch, and by little, I mean it was fucking massive, Nikki. This place was off the charts humongous. It measures 100 square miles in total. So just to put that in perspective, it's just casually a little bit smaller than the whole of Atlanta and Philadelphia.
That's crazy.
That's a whole city.
I didn't realise those places were that kind of size. That seems quite small.
Well, it's actually bigger than the Isle of Barbados.
Wow. That's huge. How are you ever going to be able to look after all of that?
16 miles wide by 23 miles long.
Crazy. Bigger than Portsmouth.
Now, all this land didn't come cheap, but don't worry, Rajneesh was not hard up for the lecky, was he? He was bawling with moolah, so he handed over just a swift little $5 million, and the deal was done. But obviously, inflation today, the $5 million is now 10 million.
Oh, just a casual 5 million just hanging around.
Let me transfer it over.
This guy is doing, more than well for himself, isn't he? I didn't realise that this was such an empire. I thought he was just kind of a little small fry, got a couple of little businesses going on, but we're talking megabucks.
No, it's not just in India. It was pockets of the world he had ashram. When the deal was done and the ranch was purchased, first came a name change. This would be called Rancho Rajneesh, of course, and the followers was slowly flown in from India in dribs and drabs to avoid the Jonestown radar being set off. Now, Rajneesh Ranch, aka Rajneeshpuram, was in the middle of nowhere. a tiny little town known as Antelope in Oregon. This place had about 60 residents in total, and it was the perfect place to set up home because soon the new occupants would outnumber the locals and they would get away with whatever they wanted. Sheila got the original logistics underway and set up everything ready for the Bhagwan's arrival. She wanted him super impressed, so she instructed Rajneesh's followers to relocate to the ranch and help with the build. She gathered donations from wealthy investors, and before long, the place had become more advanced than the town that was there beforehand.
So they're going big.
Huge!
Yeah.
Metropolis! Some followers managed to make it over from India, but many new followers were collected and converted from the states themselves. The story of Rajneesh and his free love hippie-style communes were definitely known about by the people interested in exploring their spirituality, and so it attracted a lot of people who wanted to see what all the fuss was about. Before long, the land at Rajneesh Ranch was fit for a king, and so Bhagwan was told his new throne awaited him. The only problem was, Rajneesh didn't have a visa. The lack of right to reside was no biggie for Sheila, and so she had a little chat with our pals at immigration and told them that the Bhagwan was really unwell and that he needed specific medical treatment only offered in North America. And just like that, Bhagwan was writing a column for Vogue.
He's off to New York.
Yeah. And just like that, Big died. Just kidding. He was let in without a bat of an eyelid. Rajneesh rolled into town in the back of a chauffeur-driven Rolls Royce. He was undergoing a vow of silence at the time, and so his new followers that had been waiting to meet him were met with a stoic and silent leader. But he was not silent for one person. Sheila was blessed with the sacred words of her beloved Bhagwan. Once settled in his new place, Rajneesh was overjoyed at just how much Sheila had achieved. It seemed there and then that he knew he could leave his spiritual baby in the hands of his dear friend. Eventually, Bhagwan's vow of silence was over, and he picked up where he left off in Pune. Now, he helpfully had some followers that had been with him since then, so they were really useful in getting the newer members on side. Reports from previous members said that they let newbies know that the extreme therapy sessions were a rite of passage. If they wanted freedom of being open, they had to push through the boundaries and express themselves in ways which made them uncomfortable. Having seasoned members helped get people on side faster because they wanted to prove themselves to established members, and so things progressed very quickly. In the background, the diligent workers were busy building the infrastructure of Ranch Rajneesh. Shops, houses, and a medical centre popped up quickly that even planned to build a mall. Shops!
This is just like, okay, we're coming here now and this is our new town and we're going to do what we want and build what we want. And just like, how do these people have any experience to be able to do this? If you said to me, build a mall, I'd be like, how?
Exactly.
I'd probably work out how to put some bricks together, but they'd all be on a wonk.
I wouldn't even know how to do that. But yeah, it wasn't like popping to the co-op in Antelope and a few houses on a compound.
Yeah.
This was city level. But all of this brand new building and taking over the little town of Antelope did not go unnoticed by the locals. They saw what Rajneesh's were up to and they did not like it. When the local water supplies started to be diverted to the ranch, causing farmers' crops to fail, they sure had something to say about it. But this expanding utopia didn't want to be stopped. And for one individual in particular, she'd take matters into her own hands and cause a man-made disaster on a grand scale. One which would threaten hundreds of lives. But to find out what Rajneesh had in store for us next, you need to tune into part 2, because we're done with part 1 of this case of Rajneesh Puram.
I'm so confused about what's going to happen next. What's she up to?
Well, the locals are ruffling her feathers, and she doesn't like what they're doing.
Yeah.
So she's going to take matters into her own hands.
Oh, wow.
And I will let you know all about it on Thursday. And I hope you eat at home, because I don't want you coming to any salad bars before then.
Okay, good to know. Good to know.
Coming up next time on Killers, Cults and Queens, we'll be going back to work at Rancho Rajneesh and finding out how deadly a salad really can be. So make sure you join us on Thursday for our next part.
And we want to hear from you. We'll be discussing your thoughts and theories this Friday on the Spooky Sleepover bonus show. So make sure you contact us at killerscultsqueens@gmail.com.
Or drop us a DM on Instagram at Killers, Cults, Queens. Leave a comment on our YouTube or Spotify page. Or leave us a comment over on our exclusive community at Patreon at patreon.com/Killers, Cults, Queens.
Thanks goes to Snag for supporting this series of Killers, Cults and Queens. Please go and support them back at snagtights.com. If you've been affected by any of the themes in this episode, please have a look at the description for lots of helpful resources.
Remember, you can watch our full-length episodes of us in studio over on YouTube, on Spotify, or if you want them ad-free and a day early, then head on over to Patreon and see us there.
See you next time, and don't be a killer or join a cult.
Just stay away from the salad bar! Goodbye.
Goodbye.